YouTube, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. This is a series of videos on Trump's cabinet. Remember, these are the people who Trump has handpicked. These aren't the deep state, Hillary Clinton. These are people Trump himself has to sign off on before they become a part of his cabinet. Who he picks and why he picks them is important. It gives us insight into how the president thinks, who he wants to be surrounded with or surrounded by. So let's get right into it. In this video, I focus on Steve Mnuchin. Mnuchin was tapped to be the Secretary of the Treasury Secretary, however you want to say it. Job description says this person is responsible for all financial and monetary matters relating to the federal government. So let's look into this guy's past. Has he acted ethically in his business practices? Has he followed finance laws, etc.? We're going to start with his time at One West Bank. Okay, this is a bank that he owned. He bought the bank from the FDIC after the 2008 financial crisis. I guess he got it for a good price. It's a good business move. Nothing seems wrong with the purchase, okay? However, the banking practices that took place at One West are less than stellar, okay? Mnuchin's bank oversaw more than 36,000 foreclosures in the state of California between 2006 and 2015. Okay? This is a fact, not an allegation. Okay. Now, on reverse mortgages specifically, Mnuchin's bank processed 40% of all foreclosures nationwide, despite the fact that he only serviced 17% of the nation's mortgages. Now, you may not be convinced that, something shady is going on. That's okay, because there's more information, okay? Mnuchin's VP, Vice President, Erica Johnson-Sex, admitted under oath to robo-signing nearly 750 foreclosures per week. Now, I don't know if robo-signing is a legal term, but she states she only looked at each document for about 30 seconds before she signed them. She also states that many of these documents weren't signed in the presence of a notary, which I believe they later found to be illegal. The shady practices at One West, they don't stop there. Okay, this continues. Under Mnuchin, One West Bank provided Relativity Media $160 million in loans. Again, on the surface, there's nothing wrong with this. Banks provide loans all the time. However, this particular loan came under scrutiny when it was later revealed that Steve Mnuchin served as the non-executive chairman of Relativity Media. This is clearly a conflict of interest, which only gets worse, okay? Relativity Media went under. They had to file Chapter 11 in July 2015. But just before everything was signed and everything was done, Relativity Media paid back $50 million to Mnuchin's bank, One West. This is pretty clear and cut. There's lawsuits, it's paper trail, and this isn't something that's made up. This isn't a conspiracy theory. All these things are accurate, okay? Whether or not this was shady business practices, I leave up to you guys to decide, okay? Now remember, this is a guy who is currently overseeing the government's finances, okay? Now, I continue to dig a little bit deeper. It doesn't get any better for Mr. Mnuchin here. Okay, when Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme folded, Mnuchin and his brother pulled out $3 million of their investment. Now, to be fair, their mother was the one who originally invested the money. They inherited it. But given that Mnuchin has already shown he's willing to do all sorts of unethical stuff, it's harder to believe that Mnuchin was just an innocent bystander in this situation who got lucky. Whatever. Moving along, Mnuchin also owned a lending company called Dune Capital, along with, again, nothing wrong with owning a business, okay? But it's interesting that Dune Capital, along with Deutsche Bank and some other players, provided loans for the construction of Donald Trump's skyscraper in Chicago, okay? Mnuchin also worked with the Trump organization on a hotel project in Hawaii, okay? So we see here that Trump and Mnuchin have clearly worked together. This doesn't bode well for either person because both men have a colorful past. Mnuchin's bank was accused of discriminating against minorities, One West. The Trump organization was also accused of discrimination against minorities. Okay, these two working together, both accused of discrimination against minorities, both having a record of shady business dealings, lawsuits, etc. That only increases the likelihood that the allegations, the parts that aren't in black and white, are true. The last thing I wanted to share with you guys is a couple of quotes that Trump said on the campaign trail. Remember, this is 2016, okay? He's on the campaign trail saying, you know, whatever he thinks the American people want to hear, I guess. The first quote says, "We will never be able to fix a rigged system by counting on the people who rigged it in the first place." Okay. I guess generally that sounds good. Here it gets a little bit weird though. He starts attacking Goldman Sachs directly. He says, quote, "The bank owns Ted Cruz, whose wife also works at the firm." Okay. So trying to say that Ted Cruz is somehow shady, Goldman Sachs, Wall Street business, shady. Okay. Then he says, quote, "I know the guys at Goldman Sachs. They have total control over Cruz, just like they have total control over Hillary Clinton, that is." Now, I want to remind you, this is on the campaign trail in 2016 when he's saying these things, okay? Not in his 40s, not in the 90s, 2016, okay? Trump was promising to drain the swamp, okay? And with these quotes, we can see that he believes, supposedly, that Goldman Sachs is one of those, is obviously part of the swamp, part of this corruption that we need to get rid of, okay? I guess there's nothing wrong with that, but I think you guys will find it very interesting, those of you who haven't looked into Steve Mnuchin, that he worked for Goldman Sachs for 17 years. He was a member of management. He made it all the way up to chief information officer. His father, Mnuchin's father, worked for Goldman Sachs for 30 years. And again, this is someone that Trump has worked with business-wise, or in business dealings. So the rabbit hole goes deeper, honestly. You can look up Mnuchin and Russian sanctions. Just type that in. I can easily make this a 30-minute video, but I'll spare you guys, okay? But that's what we have on Mr. Mnuchin. All this information is readily available. This isn't I don't have top secret clearances. This is available for all the public to see, okay? There's paper trails, court cases, you name it. So the question isn't if Trump knew about Mnuchin's past. Clearly he did. Okay, the question is why, after knowing all of this, after promising to drain the swamp, did Trump still think that it was a good idea to make this person Treasury Secretary? Did Trump truly believe that this was the best choice for America? I mean, what is the motivation behind his decisions? And are those motivations in America's best interest? That's what Americans, Democrat, Republican, doesn't really matter. We need to answer that question in 2020. Okay? Is he working for America or is he working for himself? Thanks for watching. Rex Tillerson and Betsy DeVos to come. Bye for now. Thanks so much.